to Entrepreneur Mind Speak. My name is Lauren, and I'm an owner of Creme de Mint Design, a branding and packaging design agency in Miami Beach, Florida. And I'm here with Natalie.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a web developer and designer and owner of Cloud Create Web Development here in Tampa, Florida.
And today we are going to talk about know your why. So how do you know your why in your business, and why is that important?
It's the most fundamental, important thing, whether you're starting a business, own a business already, or I feel like this is even very applicable if you have a job or a career that you're chasing, or even if you're in school. Like, this is one of those things that I feel like is so applicable to everyone and can be like a life-changing realization when you really have it nailed down.
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing your why, it could be knowing your why in life, it could be knowing your why, in your business. It's like, what drives you. And what I discovered once I dove into like what my why is kind of the same in my personal life as it is in my business life, but just kind of reframed in a slightly different way.
I think I would say the same as well, because I think it's something so inherent in our personalities that like you kind of exude that in all various different areas of life. And it's such like a core part of who you are. It's just a matter of figuring out, like, it's something that most likely, I can't speak for everyone on the planet, but most likely it's already there. Even if you hadn't fully verbalized it or come up with your own, sentence or even figured out what it is, it's probably already existing.
Yeah. So when I started with my business, what I really liked doing is I liked helping other businesses to grow their business. And my favorite thing to do was to work with new businesses that were just starting out and they didn't really know the ropes. And so I was like kind of giving them direction as far as I knew. And then on top of it, also sharing my designs and stuff like that, my packaging designs, to help them build their brand. So it was all around helping them follow their dreams. I know that sounds kind of cheesy. The premise behind it is like, I want to help other people follow their dreams. And just like I'm following my dream to have my own business and to have the freedom that I have, that was really important to me. And I wanted to help them get there too.
Yeah. I think that part of what probably is part of a lot of people's whys, and I think this would be something that could probably be relevant across many different industries, is what you said about helping. Like, you essentially want to help other entrepreneurs. And I feel like regardless of the kind of business that you have, obviously we're in the design space, and in my case, development space, and you're in packaging. These are all ways of helping people achieve the successes and goals within their business. And then also for their own personal lives, because we're working directly with owners a lot of the time. Often their businesses are their babies. They care about it so much, and we're helping fulfill this dream of theirs. And I feel like that probably translates to a lot of different places. Like, talk about our, the brands we work with in skincare, for example. Like, they want to put out a brand that maybe it's sustainable, maybe it's like very good for your skin with some new ingredient that people don't often know about. Like, they want to help achieve good results for people that are not necessarily themselves. And of course, you have to make a living. So there's finances involved in that as well. And that all kind of comes hand in hand with it. But I think when you really find your why, then you're able to not only make a living and help others while you're doing it, but like actually have financial freedom as well. That it all kind of comes together in a beautiful package when you really find it and you really work hard towards it.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is that you want to be aligned with your business purpose. It all needs to come together. And for me, like I was saying earlier, it actually isn't just in my business life, but also my personal life. I always have this tendency to always want to help others to be their best selves. Like, oh, I just learned about, this new supplement that's going to help you, or whatever it is. Like, I'm always wanting to share that with other people, trying to help them to live their best lives. So I feel like it's my entire why of being. And then there's just like, okay, this is the personal way of expressing it. And then there's also the business way of expressing it. I think it gives you a lot of motivation and drive when you're aligned with your why, and the why in your business is the same.
Mhm.
That it'll continue to give you that drive every day when you get up and you're like, oh, today I just don't feel like it. You can always go back to your why and be like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. Like I enjoy helping people do this. I enjoy watching them thrive. I enjoy being a part of that process with them and seeing them succeed.
And something really special comes out of it in regards to the business side, which is something that I like once I got rolling in my business and I started meeting more and more people. I feel like a very special connection can kind of happen, like a professional level connection that can happen when you start helping people towards their purposes and their whys, and you're fulfilling yours by helping them. They're fulfilling theirs by creating. I mean, even you and I, we started out in a purely professional relationship working together. And like, oh my gosh, like you're one of my favorite people ever, like that connection is so amazing. Like, that's so amazing that you can like meet people this way and then like create this. And like, you help me constantly with stuff. I'm happy to help you back. And we're both working towards our own purposes. And we get to do that together. And then like, with our clients, we get to do the same thing, and we get to build relationships, and we get to really assist them in their goals. And like you're the way you say it is so perfect, because you say like empower the entrepreneur, and they need that because it's like so easy to doubt yourself as a business owner, and it's so easy to slide back, and it's like a constant game and a constant fight to be an entrepreneur. And so to have us in their corners is really helpful to them. And that's like such a
Yeah,
cool place to be.
it is like we're their cheerleaders in a way. We're their guides. And
Mhm.
as you were saying just a second ago, I actually hadn't said on this video or this podcast, I hadn't actually said what my purpose specifically is. I kind of was dancing around it, but I discovered that my purpose is to inspire and empower entrepreneurs to do what they love. What would you say? How would you describe your why, Natalie?
As I had mentioned before, like I don't have a very perfectly worded um, explanation yet. And I honestly haven't worked towards that yet. It's something that I definitely want to narrow down and get the words right. But it definitely is in the direction of like helping business owners and helping other people through real connection, real communication, real understanding of what they need, and helping deliver that to them. That is also something that I apply in life. As a wife, my purpose towards our relationship is towards helping him and backing him up, and for him it's towards helping me. I think it all comes down to communication and supporting each other. And that's very much the same in our lines of work. Like it translates perfectly, because in the end of the day, when we're helping a client, the first thing we need to do is we need to talk to them, and we need to know everything about their business, and we need to know all the problems they're having. We need to know all the ins and outs in order to do our best job to help them the best. And so that like very personal relationship side of it, I think is very important. And that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to start out a business on my own, because not every agency gives space for that. And I felt that that was a very important part that I didn't want to shortcut. So that's a very long answer to your question.
Absolutely. And I feel like for me, it's taken a while to get to that why, what that core why is. I mean, I knew what it was, but how to kind of say it in one sentence, like hone it down to exactly where I was coming from. It's hard to do, because a lot of what you're sharing with me also resonates, and also resonates with my clients, because communication is very important to me. And what I've noticed is my clients, they often say like, I felt heard by you, I felt understood by you. And so they're telling me that, that I listened to them, that I was communicating with them, that I was learning what it is that they needed. And I created their vision after taking all of that in, and then saying, okay, now I understand fully what it is that you need. And I'm going to help you create that. I'm going to help you create that vision. We're going to do that together.
Right.
My why, like it is bigger than just that sentence, just like your why is bigger than, a sentence. So
that I formulated yet.
yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important to understand what it is. And I feel like for both of us, like communication and authenticity is very important. And so in many ways, you and I are both aligned in our businesses, which is great, because when we partner up together, we are aligned in the same ways, that it makes it easier to have that partnership than if we didn't align, if we had different values and different whys.
It's so true. It's so true. And you probably, I've definitely experienced this, and I feel like everyone has probably experienced this, where you get on a Zoom call with someone, or maybe an in-person meeting or whatever, and you feel like somehow you don't quite connect. Like some people you get on a call with and you're like, oh my God, I love talking to this person. Let's talk for an hour, theoretically, if we could, but we're all, on tight schedules. But theoretically, you could talk forever. And then other people, you're like, okay, cool. That's, probably not going to talk to that person again. And I feel like that probably comes down to some of these more basic purposes that people have, because it comes out in all of the ways that people are talking. It comes out in, how they're behaving, and just like the little things. And that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's a little bit different. And that does add to the interestingness of life. You have all different kinds of people with all different kind of purposes and goals, and various different things. And they're not all necessarily going to jive perfectly together. And that's totally okay. But it's interesting to pay attention to that. You might come across people like that, where you're like, oh, we're probably on two very different pages, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things I wanted to touch on is how does this show up for brands? And one of the big ones that I think about is Apple, because Apple, they start with their why, and I think that's what makes them different. And having said that, their why is, we think differently. We want to challenge the status quo. And what I think is interesting about it is that a lot of companies, they start with what, the what is typically expressed as products or services that they offer, or they focus on the how, the way they operate that sets them apart from their competition. But, the most successful brands focus on the why. And the why is just, it's more compelling. It taps into the passion. And this was Steve Jobs' why. This was his why.
Yeah.
And he embedded it into the company. And there have been points in time where Apple kind of moved away from it slightly. And then they had some challenges. They had to go by wait, we need to go back to our why. If we move on to what their how is the way we do this is by making products that are easy to use, elegant, and well designed. And their what is, and we just happen to make computers and phones as our products.
Yes, exactly. I love that so much. And it even makes me think of their kind of journey as a business, because I remember when I was first getting into the design space, this is back in 2008, they were really targeting designers and creatives. That really was kind of their target market. And I actually came into the space with a Microsoft background. I didn't have an Apple computer until I think 2009 or so. So I was a couple years in the industry working on PCs, and then I moved over to Apple. And it was expected that creatives had Macs, and that just follows perfectly in line with their think different, the kind of people that are creating new things. That was all part of their kind of edgy image, and all these creatives wanted to be a part of that.
And the software and the fonts would all come out on that computer first. Now, I wanted to jump into for those people who are trying to figure out their why, I think like one of the questions you could ask is, why do I do what I do? Even if you weren't getting paid, what would you devote your energy to? And can you find like a common thread among those experiences? What makes you tick? Like
what gives you like even the twinge of joy and excitement, you know?
yeah,
That was something that I was kind of narrowing down on for me, was like, what part of my life do I kind of get like this like little bubble of excitement? And like, I've been a designer and developer for a lot of years. That's pretty much what I've always done as a career. But not in every situation did I feel joy doing a design, and not in every situation did I feel joy doing a development. It was circumstantial to also having that kind of like knowing that I'm helping someone. I know a lot of developers, for example, they develop for large companies, and so what they do, that's very unsure whether it even gets used. So a lot of the times they feel like they're just working towards products that they are not sure ever will launch or will ever go anywhere. And that's kind of like a sad situation for a creative that has a purpose to put out something awesome into the world, you know? So I feel, and even though they're doing the same thing, technically they're coding, but like that doingness has to result in something that's along the lines of what they want as well. I wouldn't necessarily on my own sit designing websites, theoretical websites, and find much joy in it. I find joy in making it for the client and having them be excited about it. So I think it can work in both ways.
I think you're right. And I think why could be different depending on what it is or what your purpose is or what you're doing and what you're hoping to get out of it.
Right. And it might change also, like
Right.
as you're doing it. Like when I first started in web development, I was an updates manager at an agency. So this is like the lowest possible position you can have in like a web agency, right? Because you're really not making anything new. You're just like adjusting things for clients, like change this text and change whatever. And this was all back in hard-coded HTML days. And but like every time a request would come in, I would get so excited. And I'm like, oh my God, they need to change their coupon. This is like so exciting. Because that's where I was in my career, you know?
I love that. I love that.
So it can definitely adjust as you get better at certain things and new things become challenging.
So one of the other questions, if you're trying to figure out your why, is why do I do this rather than anything else?
That is like a super hard question.
Yeah. Like what inspired you to start your own business? The reason why I started my own business, in addition to wanting to help entrepreneurs, I wanted the freedom to work from wherever I wanted, from whenever I wanted.
Which you're literally planning a whole trip now. That's worth saying.
Exactly.
Like you're literally planning a trip all around the US while running a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to have that type of choice. When you work for yourself, it gives you the opportunity to create a company that aligns with your values and supports the lifestyle that you want. And whether that's, traveling around the country or choosing what clients you want to work with or which clients you want to work with. For me, that's why I wanted to do this rather than anything else.
I so agree, is one of the most important points of like definitely having the freedom. And I'll just put my own little footnote on that, because that doesn't mean you're working less. It might mean you're working more. So anyone starting a business, don't think you're going to have, 4-hour work days to start necessarily. But also the thing about choosing your own clients and choosing who you get to work with, that is like the best thing. Like that is my favorite thing. Like I have met people like we just talked about, like you are a beautiful example, and many other people who I feel like I got to have such a more in-depth, interesting relationship with, because I had my own business. I service a very specific kind of niche, very specific kind of person. And I know that people that are going to want to work with me are going to resonate on that same level. And that is just so great as a creative, being able to make stuff with people that have similar values to you. It makes the process so much more easy.
Definitely. Absolutely. I completely agree.
Awesome. Well, did you have any other tips for our guys?
Yeah. So the last question is, why should other people care? So if you don't know your why, how can you expect, your customers to feel passionate about your company?
My reactive response to that is like, I would much rather even spend more money to be able to have somebody that I can trust and guide me and deliver everything I need. And even some of the stuff that I don't even know I need, and have somebody that can advise me on that, rather than try to be an expert in a field that I'm not an expert in. And I've had experience going to businesses in regards to stuff where I wasn't a total expert, and not feeling like I was being taken care of, and feeling like I had to learn the sphere in order to tell the person what to do. And I found that very frustrating. So I feel like all of this kind of ties into like, I would much rather work with someone with a purpose and like a strong why than someone who didn't, because I knew that even if I said something that they didn't even understand 100%, I know they would help figure it out. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to work with people that are aligned with you as well. Yes. It just plays into this like research study that found that 78% of consumers believe it's no longer acceptable for companies to just focus on profits, that they should also work towards positively impacting society. And I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of ties into what you're saying, like for companies to have a purpose, to have some other purpose besides just making money, like there needs to be something more to it. There needs to be that why there needs to be that clear purpose that inspires the customers, that inspires the employees, investors, or, to support the vision of the business.
Yeah, it just made me think of like, that actually would make capitalism really work. The failures that we've experienced in certain areas, like I fully believe in capitalism and that anyone can make a business and like everyone should be able to make their own way, like that I agree with. And I love that, because that's what I'm doing. And that's what I even came to the United States to do. But if you're only focused on profit, I feel like that's where people have revolted against the idea of like big corporations that are cutting every cost and not compensating the workers well, and like cutting corners that are dangerous or putting out bad products just to make their profit margins better. That's where there's been like revolt against things like capitalism and having these big corporations. Whereas if they're actually doing good, which in a society, in a country that is largely influenced by the especially larger corporations, but also all the small businesses, oh my gosh, like that's a way to really make the country the best it can possibly be.
I feel like it goes back to how we were making websites in the past. Remember in one of our previous episodes, we were talking about how there was a point in time where all companies wanted to look like big companies, and they wanted to appear really huge so that people would take them seriously. And now there's sort of this reversal of that, because people are feeling like they're not being taken care of by bigger companies, that they're just a number, that they're not important, that their needs aren't being met. You don't want to feel like you're a cog in the machine. You want to feel like you're connecting with another human being about something you care about and something they care about. And together you're both going to create something that you can be excited about.
Exactly.
And it's all about purpose. So yeah. Anything else, Natalie?
I think that's pretty much it. I think that's everything I could come up with on this particular subject. And I think it's so important. It's something that everyone, I feel like, should reflect on.
Yeah. And I think, it's a good idea to brainstorm about it, write about it, journal about it, Ask yourself these questions. I would also say, like, talk to your friends and family, see what they see about you, because sometimes it's hard to see in yourself what you bring to the table, and hearing
Totally.
it from other people, that could really help you. So on that note, this concludes our episode of Know Your Why, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thank you. Bye.